Hello, everyone. Greetings to you and yours on this wonderful Monday afternoon. The perfect time for a morning show. The best afternoon morning show on the internet, they're saying. They say, sir, many are saying it's the best afternoon morning show on the internet. I can believe it. How are you guys doing? Welcome to the ASTROLABE, brought to you by Kingpilled. I am your host and humble narrator. As a good friend of the show, Buck from Counterlab. Counterlab, there we go. We're gonna have to do a crossover. Buck from Counterflow. Shout out to my good friend. Sorry I'm late, folks. I am wrestling with an absolute bitch of a headache today. It's been I pinch a nerve in my neck, has been spazzing out, and I've been deep in the mud wrestling around with it. But I'm not going to leave you guys hanging. I'm going to get you guys an ASTROLABE. And so I'm making up for it with an incredibly long one. I have a feeling this is going to be very long. I've got probably the most tabs that I've ever had. Maybe be able to kind of push through a number of them relatively quickly, but there is just so much. I had to delete out probably almost as many tabs as I've got. It's just insane how much is happening. Everything is happening all at once. The Nothing Ever Happens bros are the most BTFO'd they have ever been. And yet somehow, I suspect, there's still things coming that will BTFO them even more. All the things are happening. We are experiencing decades of history happening in the space of, in some cases, mere hours. We're watching Trump's installation. Speaking of which, I did a conversation here on the channel with Jason from Mir and Chuck Now, good friend of the show, formerly known as the 2-Bit Podcast. We talked about Trump being installed, this bold claim that he has made that I happen to endorse. And so much has happened that we believe it merits a second conversation. So keep an eye out for that later this week. We will be having another conversation about a part 2 on Trump being installed, and specifically the spirit of the vengeful son and the spirit of the prodigal son. Jason had a great live stream about this that I listened to while I was driving up to Michigan to pick up Cooper. And if I hadn't been sitting there, sitting in the car, just flying down the highway, I might have spun up a live stream and started commenting on some of the stuff that he was saying. So I told him this is great, and we should have a conversation about it. I'm stream sniping Oren and Dave. I am indeed. I had to step on their toes because I didn't want to get this out any later. But that's actually one that I threw in the watch history so I can go back and watch it later this evening. Mr. Westford in the chat, what's up, buddy? Got to lay eyes on him for the first time last night as he absolutely mopped the floor with us in Halo 3. We had Colin and Cooper and I with Mr. Westford, and he's an adept millennial. He has paid his dues into the Halo franchise, and he has been rewarded with the ability to absolutely mog his buddies. We might have to start doing some of these Halo streams into the Kingpill Discord. Hop in the voice chat and just stream us playing, because we get kind of crazy. It's fun. LG Brandon Walsh says, Oren and Dave can wait. ASTROLABE is better live. Well, I appreciate that. That is high praise. Thank you, sir. Real quick, we got a couple new sponsors for the show today. The first one, I got to find it. Where did I put it? Did I put it here? No, must have been over here. I had it pulled up. I guess now I just got to pull it up again. Terrible podcasting. Oh, no, here it is. Got it right here. So, he hasn't asked me to do this, but I'm doing it because he's a good buddy of mine. Mr. Jason Miranchuk. He has launched his Gumroad, where he has put all the different parts of his shadow economy, shadow empire, shadow pill conversations with Stormy Waters. If you guys haven't been listening to these conversations that Stormy and Jason have had, you're missing out on what's going on. A really good, I was listening to the live watch along that Jason did with his new partner in crime, Lex DeBlanca. I was listening to their live watch along of the conversation. There was something that stood out to me. They were talking about how, imagine if in 2019 somebody had told you what was going on, what was going to happen over the next, say 20 months or so. Imagine if someone had given you that insight, what you could have done, how you could have taken advantage of that situation or insulated yourself from it. In either case, or both. That's what's happening right now. These are the nuggets that Stormy is dropping. He's giving you a deep inside look at what is actually happening behind the scenes that we don't really see directly, but we can triangulate. The PayPal Mafia conversation was just the beginning of all of this. Jason and Stormy have talked about the Carlyle Group, and we're getting more and more indicators. I've got a number of different stories in the stack here today to that just contribute to this narrative. Once you see what's happening, it's impossible to not see it. We're very blessed to have Stormy here to bestow his insight on us, and Jason for drawing it out of him. Sometimes having a conversation with Stormy is sort of like it's riding the tiger. You just got to hang on for dear life. But Jason's done a great job of steering the conversation and drawing just absolute nuggets out of Stormy. And then he brought on his excellent producer, who has created a new art form, I think. This it's sort of using AI to take these meant for audio conversations and adapt them to a visual component as well, which will appeal to a different audience. There's maybe some people who are willing to watch maybe they can't follow the audio conversation, but you add these brilliant little video edits and sound effects, give it more of a documentary style feel, and it really hits home even more. So AI data cinema. Data cinema is the term that Jason has coined, and we're going to be coining a similar one soon. Similar, parallel. You guys will find out more about that in the near future. But go join Jason's Gumroad. Go buy your own copy of chapters 1 through 3. The third one's yet to be released anywhere and contains shadow white pills galore. The shadow white pill is sort of akin to the bitter white pill. It's something that you may not necessarily want to learn, but you're very grateful that you did learn it. You also get a private Telegram group where he's going to be uploading new versions. You'll be able to see it first when you're in part of that Telegram group. So go over here to the link. I'm going to drop it in the description. I'm going to post it in the chat right now, if I can highlight it here. I'm going to post this in the chat and pin it, so anyone watching, go sign up for Jason's Gumroad. There it is, and we're going to pin it. Go sign up, support the man. He's doing this full time now. He's had some health problems that are a blessing in disguise, because he can't really stand for long periods of time anymore. So that forces him to sit behind the mic, and when he sits behind the mic, good things happen. So go throw him some of your shekels, support what he's doing, and get access to become the first to know about many of these things. Shout out to Nephilim in the chat. He says, already bought the Gumroad Stormy series. Excellent. There you go. One of the core astrolabians is vouching for it. It means you guys can trust it. Ian Carroll says, I'm Zoomer, but I'd still stomp you guys in Halo 2 to 3 or Reach. Well, consider the gauntlet thrown down. We need to we need to connect on Discord. Maybe you should join the King Pill Discord. That'd be a great thing to do. We got another sponsor related to the King Pill Discord, but I'll tell you guys about that here in a little bit. First of all, there's one other thing I wanted to pull up that was not planned, but talking about, I just saw this as I was doing my customary pre-Astrolabe cigarette, and this dropped. If you have any doubt what's happening, I am yes, you are no tweeted, all the young thick guys stood silent and looked at the ground because they know what happens when they do something. She's screenshotting this white broad here who says, this man on the subway was repeatedly harassing a woman, being disgusting, invading her space, etc. Tell me fucking why me and the other women around tried to intervene and tell him off, but all the young thick guys just stood silent and looked at the ground. Well, because this is what happens to them. They know that's what happens to them. And some of them are willing to take the risk anyways, like this absolute just... You know you're living in a magical world when this event that happens, where you finally have a man, a young white man, who decides to buck the prevailing sentiment of society and actually step out and put himself on the line to defend vulnerable people, who becomes the icon of that, the archetypal story that all of this sentiment begins to swirl around. He looks like this. You get an image like this of him. This is like a little wink at us. So Daniel Penny is going through his the trial process now, and I was reading a little something about it the other day that something about the defense is going to try to have the jury sit in a train car with schizophrenic black people or something. I don't know if this is just memeing, but basically they're trying to put the jury in the frame of mind of what would you have done, how would you have responded in this situation, which, I mean, New York jury, it's a complete toss-up. Because on one hand, they've all been in that situation, and they've fully understood just how terrified and uncomfortable they were. On the flip side, I don't expect that a jury made up of a bunch of New Yorkers is going to be, not that there's not bright people in New York, obviously there are, but I don't suppose that that many of the bright people are composing the juries. So Daniel Penny is really fighting an uphill battle, but indirectly, our guy's taking up his cause. Look at this. Could you have imagined that this was going to happen? Things are happening fast. Are you ready? So that was an unplanned little detour, but let me just signal boost the fact that the stream is live again. Thank you for hitting retweet. Those of you who have, tweeting out the link to the stream. We're going on YouTube and on X for the time being. Do me a favor and hit the like button. If you're watching on YouTube, hit the like button. Retweet, like the tweet on Twitter. Do whatever we can to get this out, get more people in here. Mr. Westford says, like the stream or you love COD. Well, I will not incriminate myself. We'll just say that. Halo reaches my turf. Oh boy. Oh boy. Now this is how we're going to settle disputes going forward. When there's disputes, if there's a difference of opinion about the direction of the business, we're going to settle it with Halo. Some of us may have to appoint a champion. Poor Justin. But this is the way to do it. This is the new era. Josh says the edits, his editor, speaking of Jason, the great Lexcellent, Lex DeBlanca, is putting in are great. The tiny hat music and the other little visual and auditory clues and memes are really helpful to accelerate the comprehension curve. Yes, exactly. Shout out to Suit and Tie Guy. He says, hey guys, somehow here for the stream again. Hope you're all succeeding. Likewise, sir. Okay. Let's get rocking and rolling here. So, first of all, we're going to have to touch on something a little dark, but before we do that, we got to get our wholesome, mindless slop. Here it is. I hit play on this yesterday and very quickly realized that this was optimal ASTROLABE content.
What up, Council? My name is Chad Kroger. This is my colleague, JT.
What up?
We came to the city of Miami Beach with one purpose in mind: to prove that partying on a yacht boosts as much stoke as we had hypothesized. We believe deep in our cores that letting loose on a boat cures depression.
In my experience, a quick gainer off a tuna tower can make you forget about inflation or automation.
To conduct this experiment, we found a young man on Craigslist, Navi, who self-identifies as awkward and a bit sad. We brought him onto a yacht and hooked him up with a brew. To our surprise, his froth did not fully peak. There was one missing ingredient: hot chicks. Hot chicks are crucial to the boating experience. Not surprisingly, after we added beautiful women to the equation, he was stoked. So we would like to go one step further with our proposal. We not only ask that the city provide public yachts to the people, but also hot chicks.
Or hot dudes if you are a chick. Or hot dudes if you're a dude who's into dudes. Or hot chicks if you're a chick and that's what's up.
What up, Council? My name is Chad Kroger. This is my call.
Look at these young kings. I fully endorse this version of politics. It's like half memeing, but there's the legitimate chance that you might actually be able to spin something up out of this. If you could corner the councilmen or councilwomen enough, you might be able to actually figure out some way to tie yourself or tie them in enough knots to get them to give you some kind of handout. This is great. Okay, so on a little bit of a darker note, I wanted to signal boost this for you guys because it's fallen out of the news cycle so thoroughly. But we have people on the inside. Good friend of the show, Jay Ford, is down connected with the OGC guys down in North Carolina, and he was on the Schizo stream. In fact, he took over the Schizo stream completely on Friday night. We never got around to watching the episodes 3 and 4 of The Art of the Surge, Tucker's new documentary, because Ford was dropping some knowledge bombs, giving us his experience working on effectively logistics down there and just describing the absolute state of things. So he told us he's going to be trying to get the word out a little bit more going forward, and I'm going to signal boost whatever I can. He tweeted this thread. He said, "A lesson learned from my time helping cities down here. Always have a bias for action. Anything else will leave you bogged down in spreadsheets and emails. Those are your two options, emails or action. Another lesson, if you have local governance, you have autonomy. You're going to get screwed by the feds anyways, but instead of getting screwed by the state and country as well, you have real power to make things happen. A lot of the towns I'm working with are unincorporated. They have no mayor or council, only volunteer EMS. They become de facto dictators who have no ability to requisition official county and state resources, only federal funds, if they know how. There's a whole crapload of bureaucracy that he was describing to us that you have to go through to get access to not just federal funds, but resources like that improve your ability to navigate, figure out where people are. The whole thing is all funneled through a bunch of bureaucracy that has its own rules and is not there for the sake of just helping people. So a lot of these little communities don't have any sort of leadership structure. It just falls to like volunteer firefighters, volunteer EMS, or whatever neighborhood people will rally together and serve each other. But this, not even mentioning the natural kind of latent hostility that the feds have for Appalachia and that Appalachia has for the feds. Not even getting into all of that. It's just exceptionally difficult to jump through all the hoops to actually have access to all the support and resources that they need if they're an unincorporated community. And they're not exactly positioned to be able to jump through a bunch of extra bureaucratic hoops. This is why they need as much support and help as they can get. At the same time, they're very suspicious of outsiders, and rightly so. So a lot of stuff is just getting bogged down by internecine politics. He says grassroots orgs pop up to help people, but they have no innate rapport and no innate points of contacts. Areas need to be infiltrated if a volunteer fire department gets an ego. And if the volunteer fire department tells the orgs to scram, the orgs won't come back for at least a few more days. We saw examples of this sort of thing with the assistant fire chief or something like that told the helicopter pilot to stand down while he was actively rescuing people. All it takes is one guy to get a big dick or think he has one, and a lot of people can get hurt. So It's a difficult situation to navigate. You need to be diplomatic. You also need to know when to enforce yourself or when to just stand down. Let people do what they're going to do with their communities and let their communities handle it. This is going to be a problem that drags out for years. Many of these people don't even have a home to go back to. There's not even a town for them to go back to have a home. They have to relocate. They're not just going to like get up on Monday morning and go into the donut shop and work their shift because the donut shop doesn't exist anymore. The scale of the destruction and the build out that's going to be required is unfathomable. This is why I want to keep this in front of you guys as much as I can. And you guys can do your own part and keep this in front of other people. There's still a lot of organizations that are working on the support here, like the Old Glory Club. Shout out to them. But they're gonna be working on this for a very, very long time. There needs to be infrastructure built out to allow this to happen. And I mean, if you needed a reason to vote for Trump, if you're indifferent about voting, you're like, it's gonna be faked, whatever. It doesn't cost you anything. Think about the lives that will be lost just because Trump wasn't elected in this particular circumstance. Because there's no way that Trump gets elected, Trump and Elon come in and don't change the calculus on the ground in some way for the better. Even if it's just streamlining FEMA or springing up some sort of organization that can work alongside the federal government and it's got Elon's stamp of approval on it so it can cut through a lot of the bureaucratic red tape, anything like that. These people need all the help that they can get. But we also can't just wait for Trump to be elected and then hope that they do something about it. So yes, you should absolutely go vote for him. Make it too big to fortify, because that's a real thing. They're losing the will and the ability to fortify it, but only if the turnout is as the turnout appears it's going to be. So anybody who doesn't cast a vote for Trump is facilitating the fortification effort against him, because that's very obviously what's happening. He says, interfacing with the federal government will allow you to leech official resources. It's not fun to say, it's not high speed, and it certainly doesn't bode well with the populace. But the fact is that if you don't take it, others will. The feds drop where they're wanted first. Day one, incorporated towns were able to leverage their status as official government to get water in the pipes and power in the lines. You can't assume because a place has a lot of people that they were getting taken care of by the various grassroots or power companies. He said that in some of these areas, some of these communities, they're not expected to have running water until 2025. They're going to be boiling whatever water they can get until then. And hot water is probably into like mid or late 2025. These people are going to be living rough for a long time, those who do live. Those who choose to or can or are forced to stay there. It's kind of surreal to think about sitting here in my air-conditioned house with my bed, my running water. Took a nice hot shower the other night. My shower of the week. Getting a little more ambitious. It used to be shower of the month, but I had to accelerate it a little bit. We're able to live in effective luxury, and these people are being thrown back 100 years. They're going to be living 100 years in the past for a significant amount of time. The death toll, I'm sure that the death toll that's a consequence of the fallout from the disaster is probably going to be comparable to the disaster itself. All the weak and infirmed and elderly and who just can't make it. The stress is too much for them. They don't have anywhere to go. They get undernourished, dehydrated, start getting infections because they're not able to bathe enough, not being able to get access to medications, hospitals being overwhelmed. Yet at the same time, One of the things Ford said was, this is a great opportunity for someone who has the money to come just set up a hospital. You could actually set up a hospital, start taking off some of the burden here. It'd have to be funded, millions of dollars funded entirely out of someone's pockets. But at the end of all of this, they would own a hospital. Those sorts of opportunities are available as well. Another lesson. You need intel. You need comms. You need logistics. At Gray Zone Intel, Mike Shelby harps on this point, but every single person is a sensor, and you need to know who is operating where. You need to know where your people need to go and when they're back. Starlinks are invaluable. Shout out to Elon. I had no prior knowledge of my initial staging point before I showed up. You can just do things. Give them your verbal resume, tell them what you can do, problem solve for them. Go out and conquer. If you're a young man who doesn't have anything going on right now, and you can make it happen, even if it's just for a couple of weeks, this is the closest thing to a frontier that you're going to find. This is a chance to go learn things you never could have learned otherwise. Ford's been down there for a couple of weeks, and he's reeling at how much it has transformed the way he sees the world. This is the frontier for young men. And we need the young men who are willing and able to go there, and we need the old men who are going to facilitate the young men going there. People who have the means to just fund guys to go down there and manage logistics, to serve as runners, to operate as diplomats, to do the grunt work, all of that stuff. This is what a civilization does. Do we have that much civilization left? As the area gets internet services back, we're going to really see how bad it was. 5 days later.
Oh, good job, honey.
We are okay and alive, but need financial help. Please consider donating to our GoFundMe. Link in bio. Whoever disrespected trucker put this up here, but it didn't include the link, I don't think. So it looks like it's oliviad.art on TikTok. If you want to go find them yourself. OLIVIADEE.ART. Here's the man himself. Whoops. Jay Ford says, there are men's ministries operating out of here that I have no doubt are going to be part of the next elite. There you go. You've been calling for a new elite class? We are becoming the new elite. Here's a great way to instantiate that. All right. So that was a little dark. I'm sorry, but I feel like we need to keep this in front of everyone. Got to keep this story elevated. This is one of the, I saw someone said that this is one of the worst natural disasters in American history. Yeah, Bryce said, this is beyond Katrina in terms of tragedy, possibly the worst natural disaster in U.S. history. Yeah, it'll absolutely be probably the longest rebuilding process for a natural disaster, just because of the nature of the terrain and the extent of the devastation and all the bureaucratic ineptitude surrounding it. It's going to take a village to rebuild their villages. Yeah, we can't forget these people. That's right. All right. So, a little lighter here. We're watching the culture be completely transformed in real time. The number of different demographics that are suddenly boldly signaling pro-MAGA or counter-signaling the regime or just becoming indifferent to the whole question, it's happening at record pace. This guy says this is Insurrection Barbie at Defiantly Free. This chick, I guess. I don't know if I believe that she's actually a chick, but starting a thread of all the women on TikTok getting ready to do their Trump won celebratory dance. This video has 1.2 million views and 88,000 likes. Don't let the media distort reality. People of every demographic are voting for Trump in droves. Shout out to the white women. We love our white women, don't we, folks? Dance like the person you're voting for. We talked about the we talked about the crunchy moms, the Instagram crunchy moms, and how they're like an entire massively influential little cottage industry. That's what this is too.
Voting Donald Trump, baby.
Lesbians for Trump, apparently. See, this is what it looks like when you actually have a winning populist coalition. A lot of our guys have the they like temporarily embarrassed aristocrats, so they don't want to be associated with this sort of slop. But this is what Americans are. These are Americans. Americans are sloppy. These are good people. These are the normies. This is what they look like. Weaponizing TikTok nurse phenomenon for our side. Yeah, you don't look like lesbians.
From the wackos on the left to the MAGAs on the right, they know I'm beating Kamala. This race won't even be tied. Her policies are nuts, so she's out her goddamn mind. She just repeats the same thing, regurgitating her lines. She thinks that immigration without paperwork is good. Clearly not too much power underneath Kamala's hood. Borders are, it's what you are. Borders are. Cackling Kamala, you're dumb.
You're dumb. My wife says these aren't crunchy moms. Yeah, I'm not saying that these are crunchy moms. I'm saying that this is a similar phenomenon. The white women on TikTok, the nurse TikTok thing. She says the crunchy moms are the ones you were complaining about with the last Peach cartoon. These are just women who aren't scared to go against the mob anymore. Yes, right. Yes, of course it's still cringe, but that's the point. The point is that it's cringe. It's our cringe. These are the normies. The normies are cringe.
Yeah. It's the mayor of Magaville, baby. Hey, you know who we voting for? We voting Donald Trump, baby. America needs saving. America.
It goes pretty hard, honestly.
Gonna be me in November. Donald's gonna make the country better than you can remember. Kamala's never gonna be me in November. Hey, Margarita. Kamala's never gonna be me in November.
It's our cringe, therefore it's superior cringe. Shout out to Gaga. Amy says my normie mom went to a Trump rally, didn't go in, but wanted to. We've even almost got Gaga on board. Shout out to Gaga. She's probably listening. I'm sure she is. There's so many of them. Now we got the stream thoroughly demonetized. The point of all of this is what it looks like to have MAGA go mainstream. Bringing on all of the normies is the point at which the tide turns. So now you've got, I was listening to Megyn Kelly yesterday. Megyn Kelly talking to another sort of bougie, I can't remember what her name was, but she's some journalist editor who's coming along to the idea of Trump. She's kind of a rough around the edges, New York Catholic. And they were talking about this. And Megyn Kelly, who obviously has quite a history with Trump, she said she recounted the time where she first told her group of lib friends, like deep hardcore Democrats, lifelong Northeast U.S. Democrats, told them that she was voting for Trump. And she was kind of scared, and she said she actually kind of choked up a little bit when she said it because her whole feud with him had been it was like wrapping that up. It was putting a bow on it. It had been a pretty traumatic emotional experience to go through all of that. And it was like a load off to be able to just tell all of her friends that she was going to vote for Trump. And she said they actually were pretty kind to her. They were a little shocked, but they didn't like think worse of her. And she felt kind of bad for thinking they were going to think worse of her. But she said now those friends are all like deep hardcore MAGA. They once were total Trump derangement syndrome, like regime creatures. And they're now haven't just talked themselves into Trump. They're like full-throated endorsing him, wearing MAGA hats. They're all about it. And the chick she was talking to was like, I was a never Trumper for a long time, but now at this point, it's like, given the alternatives, yeah, I'll take Trump. And a lot of people, the campaign that he's gone on over the last several months, doing all of these podcasts and other events like the one that we're going to cover here in just a little bit, have really revealed who he is. That he's genuinely a kind, generous, funny, charming, sincere, authentic person. Like, he's not just that when you're grading on the curve of like politicians. He's that as a human being, grading on the curve of human beings. He's like 99th percentile charm and authenticity and sincerity. And so that realization does double work here. Because on one hand, it's like, wait, hold on a second. I need to reconsider everything that I thought about him and anything affiliated with him. What it also does is say, how did I possibly get convinced that this guy was the reincarnation of Uncle Hortler? How did that possibly happen? That's not an accident. You don't accidentally convince me that this actually really great, awesome guy is Satan incarnate. That can only be done through aggressive malice. This is how, if you've been listening to those stormy conversations, he's talked about nonlinear functions and that complex systems like the collection of human sentiment moves non-linearly. This is why the nothing ever happens bros are so retarded. They're like, oh, well, I've been tracking this function and it hasn't gone up very much. That means it's never going to go up very much. But the nature of these functions is that when they go up fast. When the change happens, it happens fast. This is why we, Jason, Pete, in our little corner of the internet here, this is why we've been hammering this. That Trump is being installed, and that when the sentiment change happens, it's going to happen really quickly. And you have to be ready for it, because it's going to be destabilizing. And the question is it going to be destabilizing such that it knocks the train off the tracks and everything crashes and burns and we all die? Or can we capitalize on that destabilizing effect to yank things in the right direction? And that's something that can't just happen from the top. It has to happen from the bottom. We're building a new civilization in real time. The only question is what's going to be the constitution of that civilization? What things are going to get entrenched permanently into it? And all of our decisions that we make on the micro level will influence that on the macro level. A little bit more slop. They're winking at us Whoever's running the Trump War Room account is one of our guys. He's absolutely in our world. And I know some of you are going to protest about this, but this is just awesome.
We bring the boom. That's what we do. We bring the boom. We bring the boom to you. We bring the boom. We bring the boom to everyone. We bring the boom. Your favorite father and son.
Every afternoon on your FYP.
We'll be bringing the boom around the 3:15.
We bring the boom so loud the whole earth shakes.
With double chunk chocolate cookies.
And chicken bakes. Biceps and triceps bring the boom that everybody deserves.
And we call him Big Justice, cause that's what he's.
This was the Trump War Room account that tweeted this out. And they tweeted it out as an original. They didn't just like share someone else's tweet. They know what they're doing. Bryce says, has anyone else seen Undertaker and Trump? It dropped today. I've seen part of it. I've seen a couple of clips, and I'm going to be assuming that there's more clips that are as good as the ones that I saw. We're going to have some in it tomorrow. Some in the show. Kate says, I've definitely come to the latter realization in the last year, especially. The dude has an ego, but he's not an egomaniac. Yes. Bryce says he's actually very inquisitive. He asked Taker about a wrestler well before Taker's time, and Taker has been around for a while. Yeah, he's sharp. He's got a great memory, like an elephant. And he has an ego, but that ego is born out of him recognizing his innate station. He is an aristocrat. This is American aristocracy. Trump is an American aristocrat, if such a thing exists, which it does. And he's a representative of that aristocrat class. Rogers theorem, yes. That's one. If you don't know Rogers theorem, you need to go look it up. 13.5%. Bryce said, I've noticed my life has been going progressively downhill since finding out who Big Justice and AJ were. Wit, I really do hate it, but love it. Yeah. Look at our big, adorable, goofy president.
A new phenomena, and that's gambling polls. They call it poly poll or something. I've never heard of the poly market. And we're
never heard of the damn thing.
64 to 38, 36, something like that. So that's not bad. I don't know what the hell it means, but it means that we're doing pretty well. And we're the 64, by the way. Okay, just we don't want to be the 38 or 36.
I don't know what the hell it means, but it's good. The poly poll, and of course, poly market. The poly market guys are very much our guy adjacent. So the big news, the big story of the day, as I said in the title, you got to drop the mic. It's just Donald's now. Shout out to Jason Rink for highlighting this new McDonald's ad featuring Trump that just dropped. Absolute American kino right here.
To all beef patties, special sauce, lettuce, cheese, pickles, onions, and a savvy special sauce, lettuce, cheese, pickles, onions, special sauce, lettuce, cheese, pickles, onions, and a savvy special sauce. It's a good time for the great taste of McDonald's.
Just frickin' look at it. Our guy Lee on Twitter tweeted this image yesterday and said this is a Norman Rockwell painting, and he got a shout out. He got a hat tip from Elon himself. Our guys are getting noticed. The memes yesterday were unlike anything I've ever seen. I don't know how we possibly keep getting better posting days. It seems like we haven't had, like it's like we've had the best posting day we could ever have. And then somehow, a few days later, there's an even better posting day. This tells me that at some point in the future, there's going to be an even better posting day than yesterday. And I can't comprehend that. Have we peaked? Was this peak America? Just absolute mind-breaking images coming out of Philadelphia, deep blue Philadelphia. Look at this man in his apron with his tie, just having the time of his life. That was the great thing about this is like any other politician that went and tried to do this or public figure, they're like, oh, I'm going to go I'm going to be the guy working the McDonald's drive-thru. Look at me. I smile for camera. Have burger. Trump is in his element. He is just enjoying the hell out of himself because he loves people. He loves being around people. The idea of a drive-thru McDonald's, you can't get any more American than that. McDonald's drive-thru, connecting with the working class people. He is a true patron. That's why this just resonated so incredibly with everyone all over the place. On NFL Sunday, this was the top trending subject.
Okay, these are nice people we're meeting. Hey, look at this guy. I'm not going to mess with him, huh? How you doing, sir? Fantastic. Hello. Hey, boy. How are you? Your new baby. How are you? Doing great. How are you? So this is compliments of me, okay? All right. You go have a good time. Don't eat too much, right? Have a great day. Thank you, man. You take care. Thank you, honey. Have a good time. Thank you.
There were so many of these videos going around. I just picked one. I've got another one here actually in just a second. But you notice that there's a consistent theme with all of these, that he always connects with and compliments every single person there. He makes sure that every single person gets noticed. Amy says it would have been cringe if Vance did it, but it's hilarious and endearing when Trump does it. And I've actually got a tweet related to that here in just a minute that makes a very similar observation. Javier says, I think it will be extra embarrassing when foreign bad guys get owned by Donald Trump. They must think that guy who was making fries, he just wrecked my army. Here's another one. Shout out to Brendan Ritchie on Substack. This is, he says, credit to Citizen Free Press. Legal immigrants love Trump. Mr. President, please don't let the United States become Brazil.
Oh my God! Oh my God!
Look at all the fake news over there. Hello, everybody.
You can fake this,
And
right?
you know this is compliments of Trump, okay?
Yes, thank you.
Okay.
Mr. President,
Yes.
please don't let the United States become Brazil, my native Brazil.
We'll keep it
Please,
good.
Please, please.
We're going to make it better than ever, okay?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. It's a pleasure, Mr.
Compliments
President.
of Trump.
Yes. Thank you so much.
Thank you over there.
Oh my God.
Have a good time.
Thank
Nice
you.
to
You
see you.
too.
Bye,
Nice to
darling.
see you.
Have a good time. Thank you.
Again, he hits every single person. Bye, darlings. Just so charming. What other billionaire executive could possibly pull this off? Elon would be the closest one, which is why Elon and Trump are what they are. Imagine Mark Zuckerberg here, or Tim Cook, or I don't know, Jeff Bezos. Like, imagine any of those guys trying to do this. They couldn't. This is why he has the mandate. A Broken Cyborg on Twitter says, juxtapose this McDonald's video with Kamala's Doritos cringe. No comparison. Yeah. Right, I had completely forgotten about that. Nobody's ever going to forget about this. I'd completely forgotten about Kamala's Doritos cringe because it was so cringe. George Alexopoulos says, I've delivered pizza, worked registers, brewed coffee, and served food. Anyone who says Trump pulled a stunt today has no idea how much this gesture means to the common American. Think about the average normie McDonald's worker. I don't remember who it was. I should have highlighted it when I saw it, but I scrolled past a banger tweet yesterday. They said that all of the McDonald's fry serving workers in the country are going to have something extra to smile about for a while. That's what this did. Never has the common American ever felt so seen and appreciated for who he is. Armchair Warlord said, this is the secular American equivalent of the Pope washing the feet of the poor. That's a really good point. It's like archetypally the same image. This only works when it's done out of sincere and authentic compassion and love for the common man. Yes, that's who it was. It was Woe. Shout out to Woe, at Treble Woe on Twitter. Whoops. Close the tab. Can't close this one. This one's important. Older gentleman in shirt sleeves, tie, and apron is powerful Americana shopkeeper imagery. Kindly, reliable, hardworking, competent, generous. You see this, you know you're getting solid customer assistance, possibly even some free candy. Just look at it. Have you ever felt more represented by a presidential campaign in your life? This is deep Americana lore. The single most brilliant political move I've ever seen. Somehow the man keeps managing to top himself. Pause. Now, of course, the shit libs can't help themselves. Newsweek. Rumors have been circulating on social media that former President Donald Trump's visit to the popular fast food chain was staged. Staged? Can you believe it? Can you believe that they didn't actually hire Donald Trump? That he didn't actually clock in? Can you believe it? How could he deceive us so? Imagine how this dude feels when he sees a headline like this. He just experienced the coolest day of his life. He is top dog among all of his friends. He's going to be telling his grandkids about this day. And some shit lib at Newsweek is like, it was staged. Here's the article. Was Donald Trump's McDonald shift staged? During a campaign stop in the key battleground state of Pennsylvania, former President Donald Trump visited a McDonald's and learned how to make fries at a branch in Feasterville, Traverse, in Bucks County. On Sunday, the Republican presidential nominee held an impromptu press conference through the drive-thru's window. Whoever had that idea, like do the press conference through the window, give them all of the raises. Trump, known for his love of fast food, used the opportunity to attack Harris over claims she never worked at a fast food chain during her college years. Interestingly, they refer to Harris, but they haven't actually introduced her in the article at all. Just terrible journalists. The vice president has previously said she worked at a McDonald's as a student at Howard University in Washington. No fact check? You can't even say that it was fact-checked and confirmed because it wasn't fact-checked and confirmed. So we merely report that she has said she did this, but it's not our job to actually confirm whether or not it's true because we know it wasn't. However, rumors have been circulating on social media that Trump's visit to McDonald's was staged. According to a post on Reddit, a signed letter placed at the storefront by Derek Giacomantonio, what a name, Derek Giacomantonio, the unit's manager, said, "We plan to be closed on Sunday, October 20 until 4 p.m. to accommodate a visit at the request of former President Trump and his campaign." The note ended with, "I apologize for the inconvenience of closing our restaurant and sincerely look forward to serving you very soon. Newsweek cannot verify the authenticity of the letter. They just can't verify anything, apparently. Images from the social media post appear to be the same location where Trump was working. A photo appears to show an employee standing outside the drive-thru signaling cars. Taylor Rogers, RNC spokesperson, told Newsweek, Lion Kamala lied about ever working at McDonald's, and she's now lying about President Trump's historic moment making delicious French fries at a McDonald's in battleground Pennsylvania. The truth, President Trump has now worked at McDonald's longer than Kamala Harris ever did." Imagine what sort of brain you have to have between your ears to see a statement like this and be like, well, we need to fact check whether or not he didn't actually work there. Technically, worked at McDonald's implied that he was hired as an employee and he was paid an hourly wage. He was given a name tag and a title, and he clocked in and he received a paycheck. He did not actually work there. We have fact checked you. They can't confirm the authenticity of this letter that the whole thing is premised on. And they can't bother fact-checking a claim made by the frickin' vice president about something as simple as, I worked at McDonald's. And it's out there. They went and they asked that McDonald's. They're like, yeah, we have no record of that. The Washington Post reported that the restaurant was closed to the public during Trump's visit, and the customers whom Trump served were screened by the Secret Service and positioned before his arrival. Yeah, you know why? Because if they didn't do that, you know what would have happened. Some deranged lib would have decided to take this opportunity to continue the trajectory. No mention of that. The former president and Republican nominee, who has had at least 3 attempts made on his life in the last several weeks, Giacomo Antonio, the owner of the McDonald's franchise, said in a statement, "It is a fundamental value of my organization that we proudly open our doors to everyone who visits the Feasterville community." According to a press release issued by his campaign, President Donald J. Trump suited up for a shift at McDonald's in Bucks County, Pennsylvania. A full shift generally implies 8 to 9 hours of work, yet posts circulating on social media suggest Trump worked there for less. These people are retarded. This is such a white pill. This is how stupid and flailing and incompetent they are. They quote him, the staff and reporters observed a McDonald's employee instruct him on how to lower fries into the oil, salt them, and use a scoop to box them. "I've now worked for 15 minutes more than Kamala. She never worked here," the former president said through the drive-thru window on Sunday. Trump has repeated his unsubstantiated claim that the Democratic presidential nominee lied about working at McDonald's. The vice president said she worked at the burger chain during her failed presidential bid in 2019. Harris's campaign has said that she worked at a franchise on Central Avenue in Alameda, California during the summer of 1983, following her freshman year at Howard University. Newsweek has contacted the Trump and Harris campaigns for comment. How about you contact the franchise? It's an unsubstantiated claim. Why don't you try to substantiate it? Does McDonald's hire convicted felons? John Cooper, a former campaign chair for ex-President Barack Obama, said in a post on X, formerly Twitter, "The irony is that Trump's 34 felony convictions would prevent him from getting a job at McDonald's." These people are absolutely seething. The most keynote American political event of all time just took place. In a deep blue city, the McDonald's was swarmed by people. The most dominating news event in weeks since the last time he completely dominated the news cycle. And this is what they're reduced to. This is a massive white pill. Because think about the people who worked at that McDonald's, the people who drove through that McDonald's, the people who looked at these pictures online and they were like, wow, this is really freaking cool. I don't even like the guy, but this is, I like, when you see art, it doesn't affect you in your conscious mind. It hits you in the base mind first. And you recognize it as awesome no matter how you feel about it. The contrast could not be more glaring. These are completely detached, insufferable, unpleasant, evil, resentful people, and no one likes them. Every single thing that happens makes them more unlikable. Their reaction to everything that happens makes them even more unlikable. And it's not even true. Apparently, they do hire felons. So their fucking spurging is getting fact-checked. Now, I noticed that there was a statement that was made by McDonald's about this. It was a masterfully crafted PR statement. They said they invited Harris and Walls to do the same thing, which you know is not going to happen. And even if it did happen, like if they went and did it, then they just look like a Me Too. Oh, yeah, we do McDonald's too. Someone said, someone replied to one of my tweets and said that she's going to be advertising her beef flaps at Arby's next. The best gag-inducing comment of the day. But this is another one. Donald Trump has shared what is likely an AI-generated image on his Truth Social account showing him as a player for the Pittsburgh Steelers. Trump appears to post fake image of himself as a star NFL player. He appears to post fake image of himself as a star NFL player. Honestly, I feel sorry for the person who has to write this. Imagine being reduced to such groveling, floor-licking behavior, where you have to write a headline like, Trump appears to post fake image of himself as a star NFL player. You can even just say Trump posts AI-generated image of himself as star NFL player. This attempts to try to be like objective and cover all of the bases to make, I mean, what even makes this newsworthy? They're just scrapping and clawing for anything that they can comment on. And then they've got to try to figure out a way to tie themselves in knots to make it cast him in a poor light. But he's doing stuff that's so freaking awesome that trying to cast it in a poor light just casts you in a poor light. Here's the image. Oh, is it not going to load on this page well? Let's try this. See if it'll open. I've got a full image of it elsewhere. I'll show that to you guys. Trump's torso and arms appear to have been altered to appear more muscular than they do in other photos and videos of Trump in sportswear, such as those posted by Trump Golf's Instagram account in July. Truth Social, it depicts Trump on a football field wearing a jersey for the Pittsburgh Steelers. There is no evidence this ever occurred. Imagine being given the assignment to fact check whether or not this image is real. Think about the dude sitting down doing this. Like, he has to go through these AI detectors. Is this AI? Is this an AI-generated image? Or did Trump actually, have rippling forearm muscles, veins popping out? Was he number 47 on the Steelers? Did he go play for the Steelers like this? Let's go fact check it. I'm surprised they didn't, fact check the size of his bulge or something. This is not the first time Trump has posted what appear to be digitally altered photos of himself on social media. Why do you have to say what appear to be? They're obviously digitally altered. That's the point. These are insufferable school marms. Nobody likes them. Trump also has posted AI-generated pictures of his detractors. In August, he shared fake images suggesting Taylor Swift had endorsed him and an AI-made photo of Kamala Harris speaking in Chicago with a big communist flag on it. It's just free advertising. Here's the actual image. Posted. See, here's the story. The story is not that Trump posted it. The story is that Le'Veon Bell posted it. Former star Pittsburgh Steeler. This is a whole separate, I've got a bunch of tabs on this. This is a whole separate little story going on right now. The Antonio Brown, Le'Veon Bell arc. For those who don't sports ball, you had the three Bs. You had Antonio Brown, Le'Veon Bell, and Ben Roethlisberger. These characterized like one of the greatest periods of success in Steelers history. One of the most successful teams of all time. And you've got two of them. Does anybody have any doubt in their mind who Ben Roethlisberger is voting for? So at least two of the most iconic Pittsburgh or iconic Pennsylvania stars of all time. And they are fully in the tank for Trump. The campaign game that this guy has put on is out of this world. And a bunch of F-slurs posing as our guys were blackpilling because Kamala was brat, and there was some TikTok videos about it. I'll get more on the Le'Veon Bell, Antonio Brown thing in a little bit, but here's another. This is Kamala's wins. Keeping score of Kamala Harris's wins. This is their take. Breaking. The McDonald's location Trump worked at was cited earlier this year for health code violations. Disgusting. I said our enemies are desperately seething and you're blackpilling? What did I say down here? I can't get over how enormously incompetent they are. What's the upside here? Setting the narrative that the Don showed up and cleaned up a dirty restaurant and produced even more of the most legendary political images of all time? They're just flailing and no one likes them. This is what they have to grasp at. Or just going to shit all over the McDonald's. So what is this? Is this Trump taking advantage of this McDonald's for a photo op, forcing them to be closed for a day? One thing I've seen underreported is that all of that food that he handed out, he paid for all of it. So people were driving through the drive-thru, getting free McDonald's, and hobnobbing with Trump for 30 seconds. I can't get over the absolute brilliance of it. And this is what they're reduced to, is shitting all over the McDonald's location. If I was running this social media account, and I was like, what should we say about this? And someone's like, let's call that McDonald's shitty and disgusting. I'd be like, Let's follow this line of reasoning here. So the McDonald's was shitty and disgusting, and then Trump showed up and cleaned it all up and made everyone really happy and produced all these amazing images. Maybe we don't run with that, because that just makes him look even cooler. That's a real good a microcosm of the presidential election at large. He's coming into a White House that should have been cited for health code violations, and he's going to take it over, clean it up, because he's a germaphobe. He mentioned multiple times how he thought that they put the fries into the bag like with their hands, and he's like, it's amazing. The human hand never touches it. A lot of people don't know that Trump is a germaphobe, which made the whole like Russian hookers pissing on it thing just preposterous on its face. He's a noted germaphobe. He does not like touching people, which makes his willingness to shake hands and get in and give hugs and like be really close with people even more significant. They're just writing their own eulogies. I've never seen them this desperate and flailing and terrible. If Trump promised to bring back the beef tallow fries, 80s kids could still remember he'd win in a landslide. So everyone was talking about this yesterday. Like, it's too bad that these are all covered in seed oils. And then Mike Lee, U.S. Senator based Mike Lee, says, bring back fries made with beef tallow. Like and share if you'd like to see that. I did my responsibility. Go like and share. Imagine if we could actually make this happen. If we could actually meme this into reality. Now is our moment for this sort of thing. Think about the cultural win that would be inducing McDonald's to go back to beef tallow, making that happen in whatever way possible. Because there's such an overwhelming outcry for it. People aren't going to stop eating McDonald's. So it's not like you can say, oh, well, people shouldn't be eating fast food at all. People are going to eat fast food. Let's make the fast food better. This is patronage. Eric Hartman says, true story. I've made a lot of commercials, and one thing the industry gossips about is which celebrities are jerks and which aren't. E.g., everyone loves Tom Cruise. Directors and gaffers who've worked with him say he's super gung-ho and supportive. Also, Trump. In the mid-2000s, a good buddy of mine shot a spot with the Donald, and he raved about how nice and accommodating he was. It was surprising to me at the time because in NYC, he was known as a total bastard with business deals. And based on his Playboy personality, you might expect him to be a total douche IRL. Not so, said my friend. Then in 2009, I was on a long business trip with a different friend of mine who'd worked with Trump on a different ad campaign, and he said the exact same thing, that Trump was surprisingly cool. Again, I was a bit surprised, so I asked him to give me the deets, and this is the story he told me. His team was booked to film Trump for one spot in a larger national campaign, and they'd arranged to go to Trump Tower for a very tight window of time to film. Trump had gotten the script beforehand, too, but non-actor celebrities are notoriously bad at doing their homework. Although it wasn't a complicated production, the team was nervous. So they all went to Trump Tower, pre-set up all the cameras, lights, and equipment. But Trump was a few minutes late. They were very worried they wouldn't have enough time to properly film him. Eventually, about 20 minutes past start time, there was a huge flurry of activity as Trump emerged from the elevator. But instead of being harried and curt, he was upset at himself and extremely apologetic about being late. Of course, the team said, oh, it's okay, etc., but Trump was insistent. He explained that he was at a big deal that had gone long because of some other asshole, and that he understood how valuable everyone's time was for this, and he promised to make it up to them. Everyone was pleasantly surprised by his demeanor, and he announced to his team that he would be taking as much time as needed to make things right. And he, I don't know what this was supposed to be, he somethinged them to push everything else in his afternoon schedule. He then proceeded to nail the script because, surprisingly, he had actually practiced it. And when the director and team told him, thanks, Mr. Trump, we think we got it, he said, nah, we can do better, and proceeded to do several more takes over the next hour with ad-libs and wild lines. My buddy said he was absolutely hilarious, game for anything fun, and everyone had a blast. Then, after they'd gotten all the takes they could think of, he starts walking around the room, glad-handing and talking with every single one of them, person to person, for minutes at a time. This was way before he was even considering running for president, so this wasn't political. It was just him. The last point my buddy made about this was that after Trump had met all the bigwig clients, important agency people, the director and the crew, he made a point to go over and talk to the craft service guy, the lowest dude on the production totem pole, sitting there with his basket of Kind bars and various gums and mints. and Trump had a super long conversation with the guy about his life, his family, and his hopes and dreams. Trump gave the kid some life advice and then thanked everyone, apologized for being late again, and exited the room to a round of applause. Just one of the coolest pictures of all time.
Do it. I put together some really impressive deals. But this thing you've pulled off, it's amazing. A big and tasty for just $1? How do you do it? What's your secret?
Got a buck? You're in luck. Because you can get a delicious beefy big and tasty, a McChicken sandwich, and lots of your other favorites on McDonald's Dollar Menu every day.
Together, Grimace, we could own this town.
I don't know for sure if that was the one, but I'd like to think it was. At Amused said Trump nailed it. Okay, so let's do a quick ad break here. I have a new sponsor to tell you guys about. Let me share the screen here. Axios Fitness. So the moment that we live in right now is one that prioritizes the inverse of whatever makes men strong, healthy, and capable. The quality of our food continues to decline, like seed oils on the McDonald's French fries. Plastics construct everything around us, and the virtues of beauty and strength are continuously denigrated by spiteful mutants. To sustain ourselves, we have to take a pathway of action that cultivates and revitalizes our spirit. Return to being builders of culture instead of consumers of a cheap and synthetic excuse for life. That pathway will require an adoption of physical discipline. This is what Axios Fitness Coaching seeks to help bring about. Axios Fitness Coaching is a premium resource for holistic strength and conditioning services. They offer standalone training programs as well as individual coaching options, should your needs require a more specific approach. Axios is best known for the Training Club, an exclusive community that prioritizes accountability, technique, diet, and nutrition. Everything you need to take action against the decay of modernity. I love that phrasing. Everything you need to take action against the decay of modernity. By joining the club, you get access to over 20 different programs that can be personally tailored to your strength levels, available equipment, and injury history. By completing the intake survey, you can see if you're a good candidate for the training club or any of their other services. It's long past time we take our health back into our own hands. Without action, there is only degeneration. So how can you guys take advantage of this offer? Shout out to JD. You've seen him here in the chat a few times, Axios Fitness Coaching. Well, if you join the King Pill Discord at the Lord level or above, Lord or King level, you will get access to the improvement channels. One of the improvement channels is a fitness channel. It's called Fitness Whole Pizza in Your Mouth. And those who are in the King Pill Discord are going to get access to these 5 free training templates. You'll also get an intake survey that you can fill out. And if you want to just fill out the survey, you don't want the free training templates, you don't want to join the King Pill Discord and get those, you just want to go through the survey and have a call and see if this is a good fit for you, then there's a link in the description on this video. Go down and click that link. That'll take you directly to the intake survey. If you want the 5 free training templates, the push-pull legs, the DB-only hypertrophy specific, the 5-day tonal S&C, the calisthenics for beginner, and daily mobility, with a training app that you'll get an invite to. You get all this for free if you join the King Pill Discord at the Lord tier or above. Kingpill.com is the place to go for that. Or click the link in the description. That'll take you directly to the intake survey. You won't get the 5 free training templates, but you can go through the survey and see if there's something that Axios can do for you guys. We're very proud to have Axios affiliated with the King Pill brand. If you're a listener to Jay Burden, you've heard of Axios before, but this is your opportunity now to get a little something from us and give us a little something if you sign up for the training with Axios. I had a great call with JD talking over this, and we actually had a couple calls. We talked about it, and I really like what he's doing. I like his model. He's figured out a way to make it very hands-on, very productive, and very customizable. So if you're one of, I've seen some of our guys. I've seen some of you guys out there. You need a little time in the gym. I need a little more time in the gym. This is the place to go. So the best thing you can do is join the King Pill Discord at kingpill.com. Sign up at the Lord tier or higher. You'll get the 5 free training programs, and you can complete the intake survey to see if you can, if there's more that you can do Or if you don't want to shell out the bucks for the King Pill Discord for the time being, then just click the link in the description. That'll take you directly to the intake survey, and then you can see what Axios can do for you. Eric says, I just like to take surveys. Yeah, there you go. Free survey. John Slaughter says, it's legit. He has some great programs, even for somebody like myself who's been lifting for years. That is getting John Slaughter's endorsement is about the best endorsement you could get. So go check it out. Kingpill.com. Join at the Lord tier or higher and get the free bonuses. Or if you don't want to shell out any money just yet, just go to the link in the description and fill out the intake survey and see what they can do for you. All right. Got another. I got to do the whole. Do I have to do the whole thing? Yeah, I got to do the whole thing. Hold on. Got to get this browser highlighted so I can share the next round of tabs. Speaking of people coming around to our president, Planet Tyrus talks about how President Trump talked to his 10-year-old daughter for 20 minutes after they taped an episode of Gutfeld. Remember when people said that Trump wasn't doing a good enough job reaching out to young men and young white men?
I actually owe you an apology before we start. I've been very critical about you, how you fight all through the campaigns. I voted for you because I like policy. Right. I didn't know you as a man. And I think when you don't understand what a man fights for, you can get lost, especially with all the noise we're seeing from fake news, etc. Who created these pictures from you. Nice. So Gutfeld show's over. Cameras are off. We go backstage, and I expected you to be like every politician or anybody I've ever celebrity I've bodyguarded for, and you met my family. And you talked to my daughter. Mm-hmm. My daughter is 10 years old. Her name is Georgie. You guys talked for 20 minutes. If nobody knew, you could have been her grandfather. And you were talking about her horses and her dreams. And I was sitting there and I was like, I have been so wrong about this man because I never understood why you fight the way you fight. You're a family man.
I am. Well,
you're a father.
And your daughters are gorgeous, really, and your wife, the whole thing. I mean, you have got some setup. I'll tell you. But your family's great, and you're great, and you've really done something, and you've captured a certain spirit.
Notice, this guy spends a minute just extolling his virtues. And the story he's telling is Trump sits here and spends 20 minutes talking to his 10-year-old daughter after he was on Gutfeld. All the other stuff that's going on with this man. Flying all over the country, doing all of these rallies, setting up all these brilliant photo ops, going to the football game, doing all of this stuff. And here he takes 20 minutes to sit there and talk to a 10-year-old girl. You can't fake that. I don't know if you as an adult have ever tried to just sit down and just have a conversation with a young kid who you don't know. It's not very easy, but he can do it. And then what does he do? He just turns it right around on him and just compliments him. Your wife's beautiful. Your daughter's beautiful. Your whole family's great. You're a wonderful person.
You know, a friend of mine who's very smart, he's also a very big guy. He said, because I'm big and strong, people think I'm not the smartest guy.
Oh, I know.
Okay? You are a really smart guy. And I see it, and I've watched it, and I like the show. And we have the privilege of having had the highest rating in the history of the show when I did it a couple of weeks ago. That was his
of all time.
Of all time, yeah.
We beat network television.
You beat everybody.
And they were up 35 million
That's
homes,
right. Yes.
and it was a landslide.
Yep.
I
just can't get enough of these stories. So I told you I had more about the Le'Veon Bell, Antonio Brown thing. We've talked about Antonio Brown a little bit here, and for those of you who don't sports ball, it probably isn't quite as just a unbelievable, preposterous, delightful story. But Antonio Brown was like pretty much unanimously the best wide receiver in the NFL for several years, if not the best, very much in the conversation for the best. And then he kind of lost his marbles, and he's been held up as a cautionary tale for CTE, basically your brain getting turned into putty from too many blows to the head. Everyone thinks he's just lost his mind, and a lot of the stuff he's done, it's pretty consistent with just getting really erratic and goofy. But at some point, I don't know how it happened. I would love to know. I'd love to know who set this up, whether he reached out to the campaign or if someone from the campaign recruited him. I don't know, but it was a brilliant, brilliant move. He's been posting pro-Trump stuff for forever now. And one of the things that he does on a regular basis is he awards a cracker of the day. Trump has been the cracker of the day. Trump Jr. has been the cracker of the day. J.D. Vance has been the cracker of the day. So just yet another move in the brilliant moves that this campaign has made. They're in Pennsylvania, like the key swing state. And they bring him out to speak. And then this is what he said, as Le'Veon Bell says, legit probably the only person in the entire world who can say this at a presidential rally and no one trip at all.
I love you guys. I make all you guys the crackers of the days today. Make some noise for yourself.
So Le'Veon Bell and Antonio Brown were both there. This is them afterwards. It's difficult to overstate just how impactful it is to young men in general to have not just Antonio Brown, but Le'Veon Bell as well. Because with Antonio Brown, it's kind of like, yeah, he's kind of a Looney Tune. He's doing this for publicity or whatever. Le'Veon Bell didn't have the same reputation. He didn't have the same fall from grace. He kind of had a similar one with the way his career ended. He did a big holdout for more money and then didn't perform very well and bounced around for a couple teams and then retired. But this is part of this normalization, mainstreaming of Trump, making it cool to wear a MAGA hat. This is a complete cultural takeover. It's going to start with the fringy people. That's the way these things work. The fringe takes the thing on first. But eventually it moves closer and closer to the middle until suddenly there's a new fringe. That new fringe is the old middle that's been cast out. We'll talk about more of this with Jason on the this part 2 of Trump being installed. So at Sunday, was it Sunday Night Football yesterday? Or whenever the game was. You had, Sunday Night Football, the Steelers and the Jets. So you had the New York guy showing up for the Steelers game. Antonio Brown was handing out Trump Vance terrible towels outside the stadium. So we're at an NFL game. The terrible towel is like the iconic image of the Steelers. All the Steelers fans, they always have their terrible towels that they spin, and you got this big sea of yellow twirling towels. And they're handing out Trump Vance towels. So there's the stadium, I think is probably going to be around 90,000 people or something like that. So here you have tpaction.com, Turning Point Action, with Trump Vance on it, littered all over the stadium. This is such I'm running out of words to say at how ingenious all of these vote incentive campaigns are. Again, from the perspective of the normie, this might as well be a stamp of approval from the team itself. This is a major institution. Same with McDonald's. Having McDonald's host that thing there is an implicit endorsement of Trump by McDonald's, and McDonald's knows that. There's no way they don't know that. And signing off on that, they knew that they were giving their implicit brand endorsement to Trump. And they've had a good relationship with him for a long time, but that's significant. They're going to catch heat for that. But they recognize that the tides are turning. This is effectively an endorsement of Trump by the Steelers and by proxy by the NFL. So this is what happened when Trump was announced. First of all, I'll play what NBC played. So everyone who saw this on TV, this is what they got.
45th President of the United States, Donald Trump, in attendance tonight, invited guest of one of the suite holders here at Axio Stadium in Pittsburgh. Jets on top 7-3.
Meanwhile, this is what was happening in the stadium. Charlie Kirk said actual footage of the Steelers game tonight NBC won't show you. I think that's the one I just played. Is there any doubt which direction Pennsylvania is going? During the game, a woman charged the field with a pro-Trump sign. It said, Trump secure border, Kamala open border. Le'Veon Bell says, what's her bail? We got to get her out of there ASAP. Now we got our own bail-raising schemes going on Twitter. And you can't do nothing about it. Suck on that, Kamala. CTESPN, I saw someone in the chat here just a minute ago mentioned CTESPN. This has been his hashtag that he's been using. He says CTE, Certified Trump Endorser. Again, I don't know who set this up, but it was just brilliant. Absolute brilliant mastery of social media, of influencer culture, of connecting with Trump's base. There's the people that are running Trump's campaign and all of his surrogates, they're actual professionals now. This is not your daddy's GOP. These people know what they're doing. James Kirkpatrick had a great point here. He said, J.D. Vance isn't the best at retail politics. He couldn't do McDonald's. Remember, whatever makes sense. He was ordering donuts, and he's kind of a little awkward, and he's like, what kind do you want? He's like, I don't know, whatever makes sense. That's not his environment. But he's great at handling hostile interviews, won the VP debate soundly, and is capable on the stump. Trump handles retail, Vance handles details. King and prime minister. Absolutely nails it. Constantine Valdor says, I distinctly remember how some dissident right voices were pissing their pants and regurgitating the weird meme. Those guys, they're going into crystals. We're keeping a list. We're keeping a list of the people who were pissing their pants about the weird meme. You can't trust them. They're too black-pilled. There's only one thing that can cure that level of black pill. And it's not available for public consumption yet. It will be soon. There's a little tease for you. He says, Vance is the most effective VP nom I can remember. I'd put money down he'll be president. And James Kirkpatrick says, I thought if you were going for pure electoral advantage, you go with Youngkin, which was my prediction. And remember, Vance was when still against Biden. So Trump was still going against Biden when he picked Vance. But despite a rough opening, he's getting better. Just look at how he's cut down his unfavorables, handles hostile media very well and clearly smart. And I think the rough opening, I don't think there was a rough opening. I think there was just a media blitz that people took to be more than it actually was. Meanwhile, yesterday, this is an underappreciated fact about yesterday with the whole McDonald's thing. It was Kamala's birthday. When your social media team isn't even old enough to remember when Hillary ran for office, they actually did it. The Democrats' Twitter account said, happy birthday to our next president. It's real. They deleted it. This gives you a little clue. There's been all sorts of these little breadcrumbs going around, but you can see who is running the Kamala campaign. You can see exactly who it is. It's a bunch of like millennial shit libs who don't know shit. These are not competent professional people. They're retarded. This is what happens when you get a political campaign that's being run like an email job with email job people. They don't have the faintest, foggiest idea what they're doing. They're sort of just grasping and flailing in the dark. Their subject matter is pretty difficult to work with. And they just can't help but step on rakes constantly. Anyone who's blackpilling needs to walk the plank. So I've got some stuff here on Elon, and a theme throughout a number of these is the evidence that Trump is being installed, the evidence that it is seen among the people who matter that Trump's election is a foregone conclusion. It's going to happen. There is no will for fortifying Kamala because it's obvious that she's not going to win absent fortification. And the fortification isn't going to get the sign-off by a sufficient number of elites, commercial, political elites. Before the Elon stuff, there's this from the roast. If you noticed Shlomo Schumer sitting there looking very glum next to Trump, Mark Simone says he's a radio TV host, the number one show on the dial on 710 WR New York, America's most listened to talk station. He said, I know of dinners where Chuck Schumer said he wouldn't come if Donald Trump would be there, and if it was something he had to go to, he would call ahead to make sure he was seated far away from Trump. Look at the seat he agreed to sit in at the Al Smith dinner. He must have looked at the internal polls and decided to patch things up with Trump. I also saw Governor Hochul run over to say hello to Donald Trump. They must know something. Letitia James was standing up behind him, giving him a standing ovation later on. They know. They know what's coming. It's already accepted. So some Elon stuff. He's quote tweeting Austin Allred here from Bloomtech. With the right attitude and cost-plus contract structures, there are no limits to how expensive something can become. So reading from this article that he screenshotted, it says, in 2019, NASA awarded Bechtel a contract to deliver a launch tower, a glorified steel truss far simpler than the booster-catching towers SpaceX assembles in weeks, by March 2023 for a total cost of $383 million. So the contract was awarded in 2019 for a glorified steel truss. It was going to cost $383 million. As of today, the Office of Inspector General reports that the tower will cost $2.7 billion. $2.7 billion. Like, what is that? 3 times? No, 8 times, sorry. 8 times? And is to be finished by September of 2027, but more likely 2029. For reference, the Burj Khalifa is 7 times taller, contains paying tenants, hotels, and shops, and was built in 5 years for just $1.5 billion. If you had $2.7 billion in $27,100 notes and you piled them up, they would be so much taller than Bechtel's non-existent launch tower that you'd need not 1, not 2, but 23 separate piles to exhaust the supply. Whoever wrote Bechtel's side of the contract certainly earned their bonus. Whoever wrote NASA's side should be made to paint the entire structure with a toothbrush. But I expect they've long since been on Bechtel's payroll in some kind of advisory no-show job. This is how you lose a civilization. There is no, the federal government is just an obstructionary measure at this point. All it does, it exists to prevent the rise of actual government, of actual industry. It's just standing in the way, blockading and preventing growth, which is necessary for prosperity. Elon says the Department of Government, the Department of Government effectively is a good name too. Department of Government efficiency is sorely needed. Elon built more than 50K EV chargers at a total cost of $1.1 billion. Biden's $7.5 billion effort to build EV charging stations began in 2021, resulting in 7 or 8 completed chargers, or 0.2 stations per month. Now, here you got to read between the lines just a little bit. News. Billionaire Michael Bloomberg has released a new opinion piece titled, NASA's $100 billion moon mission is going nowhere. Quote, the more I learned about Artemis, the more it has become apparent that it is a colossal waste of taxpayer money. The problems start with the mission, which is more political than science. I wonder why Michael Bloomberg is suddenly loudly counter-signaling the wastefulness of NASA. Let's read the article, or at least some from the article. He wrote it himself, or had it written, as the case may be. There are government boondoggles, and then there's NASA's Artemis program. More than a half century after Neil Armstrong's giant leap for mankind, Artemis was intended to land astronauts back on the moon. It has so far spent nearly $100 billion without anyone getting off the ground, yet its complexity and outrageous waste are still spiraling upward. The next U.S. president should rethink the program in its entirety. Michael Bloomberg is laying the narrative that the next U.S. president should rethink the Artemis program entirely. As someone who greatly respects science and strongly supports space exploration, the more I have learned about Artemis, the more it has become apparent it's a colossal waste of taxpayer money. The problems start with the mission, which is more political than scientific. There is little humans can do on the moon that robots cannot. Technology has come a long way since 1969, to put it mildly. We do not need another person on the moon to collect rocks or take scientific measurements. And the costs of putting people on the moon and of planning for their potential rescue, should complications arise, are truly astronomical. He's sounding like Peter Thiel here. To understand the level of wasteful spending, forget the $1 billion in spacesuits that have yet to be delivered. Imagine having a $1 billion contract. Just period. Being a person who's responsible for delivering on a $1 billion contract for spacesuits. And then just haven't delivered. Just $100 billion. We got $100 billion. Imagine if somebody gave you $1,000 to deliver on something and you'd be like, oh, fuck, man, I got to get this done. $1 billion. That's pocket change compared to the rocket called the Space Launch System. The National Aeronautics and Space Administration's Inspector General estimates the program has so far burned through $23.8 billion. Each launch will likely cost at least $4 billion, quadruple initial estimates. This exceeds private sector costs many times over, yet it can launch only about once every 2 years and, unlike SpaceX rockets, can't be reused. Interesting reference to SpaceX here. Even if the Space Launch System is completed, there's a hitch. It isn't even powerful enough to actually get anyone to the moon, at least not in its current configuration. It will instead deposit its capsule, called Orion, into what's called near rectilinear halo orbit. Here, the capsule, which despite $20 billion being poured into it, currently has a faulty heat shield, must rendezvous with a landing spacecraft, which will then take the astronauts to the lunar surface. And getting the landing spacecraft into orbit before it can be propelled toward the moon to meet Orion is itself a complex process. Simple, Artemis is not. A lot could go wrong. And that's before NASA adds its new space station into the mix. Known as the Gateway, it will cost more than $5 billion to build, perhaps requiring $1 billion in annual maintenance, and has no clear rationale. The idea is that in future missions, Orion might dock at the Gateway, 2 astronauts will exit and board the lander, and the remaining crew will sit in the station and observe their colleagues collecting rocks. Unfortunately, that's not all. To build Gateway, NASA is adding a second stage to the Space Launch System called Block 1B that is 6 years behind schedule, expected to cost $5.7 billion, and will add about $1 billion to every launch. To accommodate Block 1B, the agency is erecting a new launch tower called ML2, which is expected to cost $2.7 billion, more than 7 times initial estimates, and doesn't have a plausible completion date. The company building ML2 has billed the government for 850,000 overtime hours in the past 2 years. A celestial irony is that none of this is necessary. A reusable SpaceX Starship will very likely be able to carry cargo and robots directly to the moon. No SLS, Orion, Gateway, Block 1B, or ML2 required, at a small fraction of the cost. Its successful landing of the Starship booster was a breakthrough that demonstrated how far beyond NASA it is moving. Meanwhile, NASA is canceling or postponing promising scientific programs, including the Veritas mission to Venus, the Viper lunar rover, and the NEO Surveyor telescope, intended to scan the solar system for hazardous asteroids, as Artemis consumes ever more of its budget. Taxpayers and Congress should be asking, what on earth are we doing? And the next president should be held accountable for answers. Remember how I said that we're going to have prominent Democratic politicos who come out endorsing Trump unexpectedly? This is very, very close to a Trump endorsement. It's just a tick away from it, because this is a clear Elon endorsement. It's a scathing rebuke of the current administration. It's a propaganda piece for a Department of Government Efficiency. Coming from Michael Bloomberg, that's pretty significant. I just realized I wasn't sharing the screen, but all it was just an article. On a related issue, From Mario Knopfel, he says the U.S. government forced SpaceX to kidnap baby seals for a compliance experiment. Look at that! Look at the seal. Look at him. I've seen a lot of people passing this image around, shitting on SpaceX for it. Oh, look how cruel they are. Look at the awful things that SpaceX is doing. It's not all fun and games. They were forced to do this. Elon said, tomorrow I will tell the story of how SpaceX was forced by the government to kidnap seals, put earphones on them, and play sonic boom sounds to see if they seemed upset. If that seems absurd to you, well, it's true. Here's Elon explaining at one of his rallies that he did last night or the day before.
I got a bunch of sort of nutty stories, you know. Some of them are, I guess, kind of funny. There's, you know, we had to do this, SpaceX had to do the study to see if Starship would hit a shark. And I'm like, it's a big ocean, you know. There's a lot of sharks. It's not impossible, but it's very unlikely. And I said, well, you have to, you know, this is, I think, from National Marine Fisheries, one of the, you know, NIMF it's called. You know, they were like, well, you have to do the study on whether you can hit a shark. We're like, what? And then, we said, okay, fine, we'll do the analysis. And then, well, can you give us the shark data? They're like, no, we can't give you the shark data. We're like, okay, well, then we're in a bit of a quandary. How do we solve this this shark probability issue? And they said, well, we could give it to our Western division, but we don't trust them. And I'm like, am I in a comedy sketch here? And then, like, they're worried about the shark density data, like the people who hunt sharks for shark fins somehow getting their hands on this shark data. And so eventually, I think we got the data, and we could, you know, run the analysis to say, like, yeah, the sharks are going to be fine. But they wouldn't let us proceed with launch until we did this crazy shark data. And then we thought, okay, now we're done. And they said, but what about whales? I'm like, when you look at a picture of the Pacific, what percentage of the surface area of the Pacific do you see as whale? Because I look at a picture, I don't see any, it's like, where's a whale? And honestly, if the ship did hit a whale, it's like, honestly, that whale had it coming, because it's like the odds are so low. You know, it's like Final Destination, the whale edition. It's like fate had it in for that whale, you know. And so we have to do the whale analysis. And it's like, okay, yeah, the whales will be fine too, you know. It goes on. And then there's like, well, what if the rocket goes underwater, then explodes, and then the whales have hearing damage? Like, this is real. This is actually, and we're like, look, if we could make a rocket go underwater and be a submarine, that would be like a feat of physics we could not accomplish, okay? This is not how it works. So anyway, just one like crazy thing after another, where, you know, so this is why I'm like really feeling the pain of the overregulation. And there's like multiple federal agencies that have overlapping, you know, they're all doing the same thing, basically. So anyway, we got to stop this madness, because we just won't be able to get anything done.
So that's the shark and whale story. Here's the seal story.
One of the things that's pretty wild is for launching out of Vandenberg in California, they were worried about seal procreation, whether the seals would be dismayed by the sonic booms. Now, there have been a lot of rockets launched out of Vandenberg, and the seal population has steadily increased. So if anything, rocket booms are an aphrodisiac, based on the evidence, if you would correlate rocket launches with seal population. Mm-hmm. Nonetheless, we were forced to kidnap a seal, strap it to a board, put headphones on the seal, and play sonic boom sounds to it to see if it would be distressed. This is an actual thing that happened. This is actually real. I have pictures.
I would love to see this. Yeah.
Look at this poor damn seal. They made him strap a seal to a board, put headphones on it, and play sonic booms. Hey, we have to torture this seal to see if seals will be tortured. Navy Kip says it's a total insight for normies on how government works. This stuff, it's just beyond the pale, preposterous. This is the stuff that's standing between us and energy independence, economic prosperity, launching skyscrapers into the stratosphere, going to other planets. Things like this. Think about the amount of money that had to be spent on this damn seal.
There's a seal with headphones.
Yes, it's a seal with headphones strapped to a board. And like now the amazing part is how calm the seal was.
Yeah.
Because if I was a seal, I'd be like, this is the end. They're definitely going to eat me.
Yeah.
How will the seal, when a seal goes back to other, its seal friends, how's he going to explain that?
They're never going to believe him.
Never going to believe it. And that's why I'm like, well, it's sort of like it's like getting kidnapped by aliens and getting an anal probe, You come back and say, I swear to God, I got kidnapped by aliens and they stuck an anal probe in my butt. And you're like, no, they didn't. That's ridiculous. His seal buddies are never going to believe him that he gets strapped to a board and they put headphones on his ears. And then let him go. Twice, by the way. We had to do it twice.
Twice?
They let him go twice.
We had to capture
the same seal.
Well, no, different seal.
Oh, okay. Did you get a seal of approval?
Yeah, exactly. A seal of approval. No, I mean this is like I don't think the public is quite aware of the madness that goes on.
Yeah, it's absurd.
Frickin' seals with frickin'
headphones. I mean, it's a good encapsulation of the absurdity of human civilization. Seals and headphones.
Yes.
I love Elon. Yeah, Sloppy Joe says the autistic glee that Elon has describing this story. I love his laugh where he's like, oh, continue on this track here. The lawfare against Elon Musk as gleefully described by the New York Times. Elon says lawfare with diagrams. So the New York Times is talking about his companies have been targeted in at least 20 recent investigations or reviews, including over the safety of his Tesla cars, and the environmental damage caused by his rockets. So it's kind of hard to see on this screen, actually, but you've got, so Tesla has investigations. So the Department of Transportation's, the Departments of Transportation, Justice, Labor, Interior, and Agriculture, as well as the National Labor Relations Board, the Equal Employment Opportunity Commission, the Environmental Protection Agency, the Securities and Exchange Commission, the Federal Communications Commission, and the Federal Trade Commission have been, with Tesla, it's been investigations from Department of Transportation, investigations from the Department of Justice, OSHA violations from the Department of Labor, oversight investigations from the National Labor Relations Board, lawsuits from the EPA, enforcement from, a lawsuit from the Equal Employment Opportunity Commission, enforcement from the EPA, investigation from what looks like the SEC. Then for SpaceX, they've got violations and fines, a lawsuit, OSHA violations, Starbase review, violations, oversight, and then Neuralink. I always forget about Neuralink. Violations and fines and investigation from, it looks like, the Department of Transportation? Why is the Department of Transportation hitting Neuralink with violations and fines? Or is my line crossed up here? Is that actually Department of Justice? Maybe that's Department of Justice. That makes more sense. An investigation from the Department of the Interior. And then with X, you've got investigations of court order. And then oversight and consent decree from the FTC. This right here, just these companies, this is the sort of stuff that he's taking on all the time. And yet, he's still going out every night and doing these campaign rallies in the middle of running all these companies, fending off all these federal agencies, campaigning for Trump. I've got more on that. But before that, this is a funny anecdote that I threw in here. Why Elon Musk made Starship more pointy. Here is our based autist.
You literally told them to make the Starship more pointy because of the movie Dictator.
Yep.
It's too round on the top. It needs to be pointy. Round is not scary. Pointy is scary. This will put a smile on the faces of the enemy.
And they know it too. It's not like they haven't they're unaware of it. Everyone thought it would be funny if we made the rocket more pointy, so we did.
Did it have any effect on the aerodynamics?
No.
Nothing.
No, we can make it way blunter and be fine.
But is it better to be pointier? Or like if it wasn't for the
It's
movie,
arguably slightly worse.
So it's arguably slightly worse. I love that the most prominent billionaire in the world is a total shit poster with his companies. The Department of Government Efficiency. Like, think about how much time and work and money went into making it slightly pointier just for the fun of it. And all the engineers are totally into it. So this is an interesting little nugget that Elon dropped. This is part of the reason why they hate him so much. Him and Trump. I was listening to Tucker Carlson talking to Megyn Kelly yesterday, and he said one of the things that freaks people out, freaks the bad people out so much about Trump is that he'll just go out and say stuff. Be like, hey, why'd you change your position on this? Oh, because they threatened me. Or like, they were like, oh, why'd you go to the Clintons' wedding? And he's like, they paid me to be there. They'll just say the stuff they're not supposed to say. Well, here's Elon, I think, saying something he may not have been supposed to say.
A story that fortunately had a happy ending, where his mom was diagnosed with brain cancer, and she, the oncologist said, there's no chance, it's got maybe 4 or 5 months to live. But my friend is a very smart, determined person, and he searched.
Let me know if you can hear it okay. I can tell that the audio is low on this one, so I just pulled it up. I can pull it up a little bit more if I need to.
He talked to every smart person he knew, and he found someone who said, yeah, actually, there's a drug that's in trials that you take this pill, and it actually makes the brain cancer go away. Literally, you just take a pill. He's like, what? And I think it's called like Wellirig or something. FYI, this drug called Wellirig that solves brain cancer. Maybe more people should know about this. And I think it's in trials at Harvard or something. And it cured his mom. And so that just happened. I think it was like this year. But if we could just be faster about getting amazing drugs through the system, a lot more people would be alive. That's the kind of thing when I say like overregulation kills people, where you've got helpful drugs stuck in approvals and and it could be helping people, but they're not. That's crazy, So simply expediting drug approval and the FDA, I think, will save millions of lives.
Okay, so now I'm coming back to talk. You guys can turn your volumes back down. I got it maxed out as much as I could. There. Hopefully you guys have adjusted your volume again so I'm not blowing out your ears. There's so many little things, so quote-unquote little things, that the Department of Government Efficiency could do that could have such a make such a radical difference. The massive change, massive growth, the unleashing of human potential in this country and the coming into its own of the American identity is it's very close. It can happen very, very quickly. It doesn't take that much. Think about it. Having a drug that apparently cures brain cancer. Who knows what sort of side effects there are or whatever, but if you've got terminal brain cancer, I'm sure you'd be willing to take on quite a few risks. But the FDA stands in the way of all of this because it's much easier to prosecute the FDA for something they did do than for something they didn't do. There's an infinite number of reasons they could provide for why they didn't release this thing for this drug for brain cancer or this other thing or whatever. So the bureaucracy is naturally just going to tend toward blockading stuff and slowing releases, preventing stuff from being made available to people, and costing just immense amounts of time and money going to completely wasteful things. Like, that's why changing some of these bureaucratic processes, which is conceivably within the purview of this next administration, even just one change, you could stack up a whole bunch of changes, but even if you just get one or two here or there in each agency, you can win on both sides, because you win on the side of getting the thing out of the way and you win on the side of promoting the good thing. And instead of having bad money chasing worse money, you can have good money chasing better money. There is Think about all the sums of billions of dollars in that Bloomberg article about NASA. And just redirecting a fraction of that into actually productive ventures. And now do that again, and again, and again, and again, and again, and again, and again. We could be in a completely different world in like 18 months. It just depends on the extent to which they're able to accomplish everything that they want. But what we are also seeing is this is why all this cultural stuff matters. Because when the culture is when the culture is anti-MAGA, broadly speaking, that provides cover for the bureaucrats and the judges and the senators and the whomever else, all the different politicos. It provides cover for them to play this obstructionary role. But if the culture turns against them, and there's the best free speech platform on the internet there to potentially air them out and publicly humiliate them and end their career with a single tweet from one of the most powerful men on the planet, or either of the two most powerful men on the planet, then suddenly all these bureaucrats are going to have a come to Jesus moment. And it will absolutely kill the willpower to fight or obstruct. That's the upshot. In another long list, actually there's some, here's a little bit more on that brain cancer drug, in case people want to know more about it. The drug is called Welireg. There's a link to it, welireg.com. It's WELIREG. It's in trials at Harvard and prevented from being approved because of overregulations. And it's interesting, every time that he's talked about this lately, he's made the same little slip where he said, like here he said, regulation kills people. And then he adjusted and said, overregulation kills people. And he's gone out of his way to say, you know, we're not opposed to sensible regulation. You know, if we pull a regulation out and it turns out it should have been there, then we can put it back in again. He says all that, but he constantly makes this slip where he says things like regulation kills people that make me think that he's far more anti-regulation in general than he talks about publicly. This is me just kind of reading between the lines. It may not be the case, but I suspect that he's more radical than he lets on. Speaking of something radical, have you guys heard about this $1 million a day that Elon is giving out? So to voters in swing states, they have a petition. They're signing. What they've done is they've created this petition. They've said, sign our petition supporting the First and Second Amendments, which based. And first they were giving everyone $47 for getting a registered voter to sign this petition. Then they raised the stakes. Now, every day between now and November 5th, Elon is giving away $1 million to a random person who's a registered voter who signs their petition. This is brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. George Takei, the big faggot, says, let me get this straight. Elon can hand out $1 million checks to voters who sign this petition, but volunteers can't hand out water to people waiting in line to vote? Yeah, it's a bitch when people use your systems against you, isn't it? The Musk, and Oilfield Rando says, the Musk is taking advantage of the totally legal 501c3 racket they've exploited for ballot harvesting for decades, and lordy, are they big mad. They're getting so mad at Musk for running the exact same play they ran in 2020. His petition is to support the existing First and Second Amendments to the Constitution. That is not bribing someone to vote for a particular candidate at the polls. Exactly. They're not bribing anyone to vote for a particular candidate. But they're sure as hell going to get people signing up for this, signing up for the petition, which means suddenly those people are going to have vote for Trump plastered in front of them all the time. And it's going to be like, man, I could vote for Trump and get this guy who's offering to give me $1 million for signing his freaking petition. Yeah, those guys are cool. I like this kind of politics. This is great. Let me get some more of that. This is weaponizing the corrupt system against itself in such a brilliant way. When I say that they've got the actual professionals running the show with the Trump campaign now, this is what I'm talking about. So here's Elon, one of his speeches yesterday. He went for 2 hours. Here's all the different subjects that he touched on. 47 topics at this rally in Pittsburgh. So special guest was Senator James McCormick, winner of the $1 million prize, which we'll watch that in just a second. Importance of registration, risk of assassination attempts. The left is against free speech. It's illegal to show voter ID. We want to do exciting things. Key reasons to re-elect Trump. No wish to do politics, but stakes are high. How to support business opportunities. Is Elon considering running in 2028? Abortion and education around having kids. Nuclear power is safe. Be wary of AI. There will be an increase in robots. Elon's son will go to college in Pittsburgh. Protecting children. Stopping propaganda for children. Every expenditure should serve people. Subscribe to X Premium. Optimism grounded in realism. Approving drugs faster. Medical tech should be approved faster. AI in medicine. Solve back pain. Children to sex trafficking. How to handle puppet masters. The more government, the less freedom. Taxes are getting out of hand. Big pharma. New technology should help people. Ban voting machines. No incentive for nothing. Crypto is good against central control. Many expenditures should be zero. Respect for those who are useful. Aliens must be subtle. Don't damage art. Dogecoin is the most fun crypto. People should worry less and have kids. There will be opposition to reducing spending. The risk is an oppressive totalitarian state. Doing things that are important. We should allow teachers to protect students. Why are some votes not counted? AI will help people understand. Be loud about your concerns. This is how Elon is spending his time. I showed you the chart of all the different lawfare and stuff he's gone through. And this is just within the U.S. government, not to mention the European institutions or the Brazilian government. And he's running all of these companies. And he's going out and spending 2 hours on stage every night, speaking extemporaneously and taking questions about all this stuff. These aren't like rehearsed topics. He's just going out and talking about the stuff that's ever present on his mind. So here's him handing out the winner of the $1 million prize for this day.
The next thing we'd like to do is to announce today's winner of the $1 million prize. So it's Christine Fischel. Would you like to come up? Oh, up there? Okay.
It's like The Price is Right.
As you may know, every day from now until the election, we're giving out a $1 million prize. That is, and all you have to do is sign a petition in support of the Constitution. It's very straightforward. You don't even have to vote. You don't have to vote. You just have to sign a petition saying you believe in the Constitution, which if you already believe in the Constitution, you're just signing something you already believe, and you can win $1 million. That's awesome. I guess this seat was kind of far away from the stage. You're most welcome. So, congratulations.
Thank you so much. Oh my God.
Is there anything you want to say?
Well, thank you so much for. I mean, I truly believe
You're so
everything
awkward.
you're doing.
Yeah.
Truly, you don't need to be doing, and I know a lot of us feel the same way. Your wealth and responsibility you are using to save speech, and we just all appreciate it. We really do. So, thank you so much.
Thank you.
It's just really freaking cool, man. I think there's something like, I think it's 18 days. So he has $18 million earmarked for this. Just brilliant, brilliant campaigning. And here's the thing about Elon. Elon is a front man. for a coalition. Most of these guys don't want to be seen in public. They're happy to facilitate this behind the scenes. So it's not just strictly that Elon's taking $18 million out of his own pocket. Elon is the front man, but Elon's doing it. He's putting his own money into it, and he believes in what he's saying. Like Trump, he's someone who truly and genuinely just appreciates people for what they are and has fun doing this. Like, he's awkward and goofy, but he's out there doing it because he actually believes in it. This is patronage. This is patronage for our people from the most powerful and influential people in the world. How can you possibly not be white-pilled? Shawty Max says, do likes help with the algo for real? Yes, definitely. Any sort of interaction. Honestly, dislikes help as well. Any sort of interaction with the video, whether you're commenting on it, commenting in the live chat, liking it, sharing it, all those things all help. Even if you're not going to watch it, just put it in the background and let it play. The longer the watch time, the more engagement with it, all of that helps. Appreciate you guys. Thank you for being here. Got a few more stories for you before we wind on out. You can also send a super chat if you appreciate what I'm doing here. I'm doing this basically full time now. So the number of bills that can be paid by doing this ensures that I can keep doing it and do more of it. So you can send a super chat. You can go to buymeacoffee.com/kingpilled and send me some no strings attached cash. Or the best way to support the show and to keep me in business doing what I'm doing is go to the King Pill Discord, sign up, kingpill.com. If you sign up at the Lord tier or higher, you'll get the free 5 modules on training from the Axios training coach. And you can fill out the intake survey and maybe sign up for even more. There's also a link. If you just want to fill out the intake survey and see what they can do to help you, there's also a link in the description. Just go down and click it for Axios Fitness Coaching. Woman asks Elon Musk what's on all of our minds. If you see something, say something. So now we're going to touch on some spicy subjects.
My question is actually pretty similar to this gentleman here. Back in 2020, well, I was at Oaks last night, and you said when you see something, you say something.
Yeah.
And back in 2020, a lot of people saw something, and they did say something. But it just never went to the judges. Like, the cases were never heard.
Yeah.
And what I want to know is there anything that the Republicans doing right now that is going to be differently, you know? Are we going to, like, actively trying, you know, if somebody doing something, actively putting these cases to the judges so, you know, we can preserve the elections and the freedom in America? Is there anything they're doing differently this time around?
Well, this time around, the X platform was not going to suppress any information that. So, you know, if there's any evidence of election fraud, post it on the platform and be as loud as possible. And if you got put as much evidence as possible out there, and let's shine a big light. And the brighter the light, the less, the harder it will be to cheat. So.
This is where you can read between the lines with what he's saying here, and we've talked about this on the show before, and he's said things sort of to this effect in the past. If you want something done, he understands the only way that something is going to be done is if there is overwhelming public outcry for it. If the story is so big that it can't be suppressed, it can't be put away, it can't be ignored. And he's going to play his part in that. He's the one who bought the platform and opened it up. Free speech for everyone. Which means if you're posting about Boater Squad that's happening, then, well, we better investigate that. We better make sure that gets signal boosted. Better push this into the narrative. They've been running simulations for this over and over and over again. That's what the last year plus has been. Is building up the ability to force these narratives into the public consciousness and force them to be looked at directly and taken on and addressed directly. This is what's available to us right now. So this isn't just he's not just kind of, oh yeah, just go post it out there. There's a real meaning behind it when he says this. He's saying, post it. If you see it, post it. It's not going to be censored this time. There's actually an outlet where this conversation can't be put away. It'll be forced into the public eye. It'll be forcibly addressed. Because ultimately, the backstop is going to be the courts. And the courts, no matter what they say, no matter how much they want to posture as being detached and principled, the decisions they make are going to be determined by public sentiment. This is why I've been saying that my prediction, I updated my prediction recently to 50% that the election goes to Trump after some hashing it out in the courts. 48% he just wins outright. 2%, there's some sort of hanky-panky. That's my prediction right now. Now, I may update that prediction in the future. You guys will just have to wait and see. Shout out to the Jim Bobbians. The Nubs and Jorts are in the chat. Thank you for the raid, guys. It's good to see you. And the absolute Chad himself, Magoo, with a $50 super chat. Thank you, man. He says, get Eastwood all the pumpkins. We're going to take Eastwood to the pumpkin fatch next weekend. He is so looking forward to it. It's one of his favorite things in the world is going to the pumpkin fatch. So this $50 will be well used for that. Thank you, sir. Much appreciated. All right, I've got 1, 2, 3, 4 more tabs, and then we'll be out of here. Continuing with the theme of Trump's election inevitability being recognized by the powers that be, California Governor Gavin Newsom has sided with Elon Musk against the California Coastal Commission vote not to increase SpaceX flights at Vandenberg Space Force Base. Per Gavin, I'm with Elon. I didn't like that. Look, I'm not helping the legal case. You just can't bring up that explicit level of politics. Gavin indicated he agreed with Elon's lawsuit and that the independent agency should have confined its debate to the merits of the permit rather than engage in a discussion of Elon's political activities. Quote, these are friends of mine that said that. These are good commissioners. But you've got to call balls and strikes. And trust me, I'm not big on the Elon Musk bandwagon right now, so that's me calling balls and strikes. Chalk this one up right in the column of major Democrat politicos increasingly moving toward a pro-Trump, pro-Elon, pro-MAGA stance publicly. We've been telling you that this is coming. These are little things, but this is how it starts. Gavin Newsom publicly signaling affiliation to Elon. He has all of his qualifications. Oh, I don't like it. I don't want to be this. But this is a very intentional, conscious decision being made, recognizing that Elon is not just going to be some businessman he has to deal with, but that Elon is a key figure in the incoming presidential administration. And he recognizes his power relative to that, and he wants to be on good terms with it. Remember, nonlinear functions, they move slowly and then they move real quickly. This is part of the moving real quickly. These commissioners that he's calling out, I'm pretty sure, you can fact check me if this is wrong, but I'm pretty sure that these commissioners are people that he appointed. And now he's publicly throwing them under the bus to get in good with Elon because he sees he's a political creature. He knows which way the winds are blowing. Surprising glitch in the matrix. Elon signal boosts it. Nice to hear. Another, along the same lines. This is from Mike Solana at Pirate Wires. Trump's promise to protect tech from European extortion is a huge deal and a huge departure from Biden's stance in favor of Europe. Trade wars coming. My take in this morning's Pirate Wires Daily. Elon signal boosted this, said very important. And this is what really gets at the heart of what's happening. If you've been listening to Stormy Waters talking with Pete, with Jason, with Jay Burden, you understand what is coming down the pike. Europe has been using various, let's say, European interests have been using a number of different proxies to hollow out American sovereignty. The American empire has yet to begin. What we're seeing now is America actually moving toward independence from European interests, shifting that balance of power. So he writes, text Trump card. Wednesday, less than 24 hours after EU regulators announced they would exempt X from their onerous Digital Markets Act, they interrupted the tech industry's brief celebration with an escalation of their attack. X, they announced, would now be pursued under the Digital Services Act for a variety of draconian speech-related infractions. But, and here's the crazy part, 3 totally separate Musk-founded companies could also be fined for X's infractions: SpaceX, Neuralink, and the Boring Company. Now, it's interesting they don't include Starlink in that. So they're going after X, SpaceX, Neuralink, and the Boring Company, but no Starlink. I wonder why that is. Obviously, this is just a shakedown, and of a kind we've seen for years, which Trump addressed at home. According to the former president, Tim Cook called him over an $18 billion EU fine. Again, literally extortion. But unlike Biden, Trump actually seemed to care. This is because he is, 1, obsessed with trade, and 2, now has high-profile support in tech. What mean? If he wins the election, get your popcorn. It's going to be a trade war. This is the battlefront. NATO and the UN are toast. They're done for. America is moving on. Europe is no longer going to be holding America by the balls through printing offshore dollars. America is moving toward energy sovereignty, economic sovereignty, trade sovereignty, military sovereignty, immigration sovereignty. America will have control over itself. It will no longer be used as a pawn and a proxy for European interests. This is the actual battleground. All the other stuff is the fluff on the surface to distract from the actual battle that's happening. But there are a lot of very powerful American interests who have a extremely strong vested interest in America being sovereign over its own territory and no longer being subverted and drained of capital. And so Trump becomes the figurehead for this movement. This is why, if you go look down at all of his Agenda 47 line items, every single thing signals massive investment in America, building up America economically, and ensuring that America maintains sovereignty over its own assets and its own land. Right. Andrew says Starlink helps them in Ukraine. Exactly. That's why Starlink is not included in this. This is comic. This is comical incompetence. The only way that you would move to this sort of that European interests would move in this direction, actually making these kinds of moves, is out of desperation, because they recognize they're no longer negotiating from a position of strength, that they're losing their grip over the American economy and the American currency. And Trump, like this sort of move here where Tim Cook says, hey, I'm getting this $18 billion EU fine. Can you do something about it? And Trump's like, yeah, that's not going to happen. You're not going to do this to American business. Say what you will about Trump and any sort of allies he's willing to have that you may not like. The one thing he's going to do is he's going to advocate for American businesses, and he's not going to let American businesses get dicked around by other countries. Even if he's not on good terms with him, he is an American at heart, and he believes in American industry above all, which is why people like Gavin Newsom, Michael Bloomberg, Tim Apple are being forced into his camp, into recognizing, even if they want to try to maintain an arm's length in public, behind the scenes, he's the one that foreign leaders are going to talk to. He's the one that business leaders are going to. Why are they going to him? Why is Tim Cook coming and asking for help with the EU from Trump? Why is Gavin publicly signaling support for Elon and SpaceX in a lawsuit against his commissioners that he appointed? Because they're skating to where the puck is going. Last two Elon points. Oren posted this. He says, I don't understand how people blackpill when you see how radically the Overton window has shifted in just a few years. Ah, yes, a racist definition of racism. Stunning from I am yes, you are no. From the ADL, racism, the marginalization and or oppression of people of color based on socially constructed racial hierarchy that privileges white people. So when I talk about all of these guys who are being forced into bending the knee to Trump and Elon, this is also what they're bending the knee to. Elon says ADL needs to stop their anti-white racism now. Can you imagine a couple of years ago that a man with Elon's stature, who has governments bending the knee to him, publicly posting about the ADL stopping their anti-white racism? The Overton window is moving so fast. Are you keeping up with it? Are you living in today, or are you still stuck in a couple of weeks ago? Because it's not hard. It's not hard to get stuck there because of how fast things are moving. I played a couple of clips, read some stuff the other day about the way that the shitlibs are now suddenly grappling with the fact that, oh, wait a second. It turns out that massively shitting all over young white men and telling them to go KYS is backfiring. Wait a second, this is a demographic that we might actually need. Democrats need to learn how to speak to young white men because now they're just getting sucked in by all these fascists because we haven't actually attended to their very legitimate concerns. Here's the Wall Street Journal talking about Trump and young white guys. It says both graduated from Ridley back in 2020 when COVID wrecked so many dreams. Benkrowski said he hasn't had a job since, but hopes for better days. The American dream, I want to attain that goal, he said, just to have a good life, brother. And the Musk he saw just feet away, he achieved that. Musk embodies that American dream. I guess you could call him a hero, Benkrowski said, but he's just a guy at the same time doing what's right. Harness echoed the sentiment. I think Elon's a very down-to-earth guy, and he doesn't like to pretend the bullshit that is right in front of our face isn't there like a lot of other people, Harness said. Both said they planned to vote for Trump. Harness's girlfriend listened as the boys spoke, but was a little more coy about what she thought when it came to voting for Trump. Yeah, Caleb Evan, 20 said with a smile, I don't know. While some critics want to simply chalk up Musk's antics to toxic masculinity, which is sometimes probably true, he stands as a hero to many young men, saying the stuff they're thinking, chasing dreams they wish they had the courage to imagine, coming to their town to fight the fight. Yes, Musk has unfathomable wealth. More than that, though, to them, Musk has something more precious. Purpose. For certain young men in Pennsylvania and elsewhere who feel left behind, that's the new American dream. Purpose. And Musk is showing them that. And Elon, quote tweeted it, says, what is life without purpose? But there is a purpose. It is to expand to the stars and thereby understand the universe. Andrew Torba, base Torba, says, mankind will scrutinize the tiniest atoms and examine the most colossal stars in a futile quest for significance, failing to realize that the answer lies in acknowledging and understanding the Creator. Absolutely. But what I want to highlight out of this is this vibe shift, this change in the Overton window. We now have the Wall Street Journal actually taking seriously the notion that white men have been undermined and onslaughted by popular culture and left behind, and that they might have legitimate cause in respecting Elon. This is the normalization process. And Elon's prepared to embrace this role. Yeah, Josh says, if she's smiling, she knows. Right. That's all I got, guys. I appreciate you all showing up here. 109 likes. Good grief. Well done, folks. Very much appreciated. Hopefully I made up for my lateness with the sheer volume of content. I'll be back tomorrow for another episode of the ASTROLABE. And also, I'm going to be giving a shout out. Be on the lookout. Go follow me on Twitter at RealKingPilled. I'm going to be doing a shout out. We're looking for creators of a particular type. If you have creative inclinations, creative tendencies, or you would like to, we are going to be looking for people to help us on our project. So go follow me on Twitter at RealKingPilled. Be on the lookout for an example of what we're looking for and some constraints. And you guys can maybe play a little part in this. And I'll go into more detail on it on the stream tomorrow when I return for Tuesday's edition of the Astrolabe. Go to the King Pill Discord and sign up. kingpill.com. Come join. Sign up at the Lord tier or higher, and you'll get some free materials from our new sponsor, Axios Fitness Coaching. Or you can just go click the link in the description and fill out the intake survey. Go to buymeacoffee.com. Put me on your payroll, as Jason says. Buymeacoffee.com/kingpilled, and you can contribute to Eastwood's pumpkin budget. Thank you to Magoo again for the $50 super chat. You're very kind, sir. And Amy says, Eastwood asked me to tell Daddy he's making a volcano. Well, I better go check on his volcano and make sure he's not going to burn our house down. Oinks in the chat. And I give you Hulk.
They're my hero. And they tried to kill the next president of the United States. Enough was enough. And I said, let Trumpomania run wild, brother. Let Trumpomania rule again. Let Trumpomania make America